Okay, that's all. Yeah, so I finally had an inspiration. Welcome to my channel, by the way. My name is Mona and I am Mona. And I don't really know at the moment how to introduce myself to the world with what I know. So I thought I just need to make a start. I need to start somewhere. I've spent actually the last 100 days doing a blog, a specific blog towards breaking with the spell of perfectionism. And I've only scratched the surface layers. And just now, I've been thinking essentially of making an actual blog about what's really going on in my life. I mean, obviously, like to a degree, I don't need to actually broadcast everything, but I will keep my life now, make that a bit public, because I've been avoiding just that since forever, and let's just say it was also meant to be avoided as a result of essentially methodical trauma that was being administered, as I said, by method, by method of with scientific precision. And this is actually also how this realm is being operated in regards to what I would probably like call. I'm really concerned now, like about. I think I'm gonna start this again. Yeah. It's 2 minutes though. See, I'm always concerned that I'm gonna be too waffly, that I'm not professional. But actually there's nothing professional about me. And there's everything professional about me. And I'm saying this because I have not been able to somewhat have these two worlds separate. Because they are separate in a way, like, you know, the private world and the personal world, and then the professional world. But they haven't been separate in my life. I have not had the privilege of essentially this is really ridiculous. I've been wanting to make this video for a really long time. And I think like I just don't know really where to start. And I should start with, I know a lot of things about trauma and how to shift trauma. And given how I actually have felt today, that I'm sitting here and making this video, and I've even intended to make a live stream, which was, I could say was being prevented, but then there's a lot of unconscious programming still geared towards me holding myself back from essentially coming forward. So it's been difficult to maintain this. Where is the boundary? I mean, in a way, I have to use very personal, my most personal life was being affected by what's generically happening on this planet to all in-spirited life. And it was just amped up in my case, severely amped up. So I'm very familiar with the hidden hand, let's just say that, intimately familiar. And I will, over time, starting to speak more about it, but not like necessarily dig into that unnecessarily, distracting me away from my focus, because this is what this is ultimately about, like to safeguard your focus and take care of where your creative attention is going. Your creative focus has to be guarded at all times, and this was probably one of the biggest things, how I was. This is essentially the war on this, in this realm here, is around your consciousness, around my consciousness, around everyone who is inspirited. It comes here. I'm not gonna sidetrack myself in how it's, let's just say you've been recycled so many times and you got trapped deeper and deeper, and now we realize somehow that everything that's happening somehow has also something to do with us, because we've become a bit more honest, about what's really driving the show. I feel like a lot of people actually they want to kind of change, but there's just a lot of disinformation around the nature of this reality and how to make sense of it in a way that we can now transcend our lives from lives rooted in victim consciousness and really taking charge. And I think how to navigate the shadow, both like so-called negative and positive, is quite important. And it's important to know what you're dealing with. So I should actually not be around, and I am. Here I am, breaking the codes of silence. And there's a lot of stuff that keeps us shackled here. It's very, very complex, but I would say I would really like to, and I'm talking complex about, there's this whole unseen world and so-called Western science and the intellectual self-amputation in the West, through total denial of an actual reality that is de facto there, and just because it's like, and even the way how it's taken back now, how our spiritual life, how we reclaiming it, is just that there's so much attempted hijacking being done around confusing us and shackling us. And I know I'm saying now us because I'm including myself. It was actually quite hard for me to let people more see this very entrapped other side, because I was hardcore targeted with this binary coding, so I'm having a very succinct split between my so-called male side and my so-called female side, and there's a lot to be said about that. Also how it's modeled on the nature of reality here, because it's actually not really natural the way how it's presented to us. Because it's distorted, but it's still modeled on something real. Because I'm an androgynous being. I have always been like this from the beginning of time, even when I got entrapped here in this endless recycling wheel. And I think trauma can, for example, not be really understood and managed out of managing it, and coping with it, but instead healing it when you, unless you really understand standing under also, yeah, divine law, and humbling oneself for essentially being hardwired into this narc persona. For me, it's been on the surface level very. I've really made an emphasis on keeping things together and wanting to, at all costs, maintain a certain image. And recently, something happened that broke through that. That hypnotic state, yeah, I would call it like I was subjugated to what in Germany we call it being, Spießer, and it's almost, it can be a bit likened to an arrow, and it comes and then I was essentially like inserted into a very, very hyper normal, like super normal world that was totally traumatized, yeah, front to back, top to bottom, and still no one actually wanted to see it. So because you're buying into, let's say, the fear of you cannot show this, yeah, like because you're gonna get ostracized, so you allow yourself to keep being traumatized as a child because you need to belong, and then you start like doing everything to just maintain even the initial shame of like being who you are and being shamed for it, yeah, constantly, because that's the reality for most inspirited humans here. Like I will keep saying, I will keep using this, so you might kind of ask, why is she saying inspirited humans, as if to say there's like uninspired, one could say, robots around. Yes, that's exactly what I'm indicating. And other species, and so much consciousness or absence of consciousness, and machine consciousness, and golems and replicants and clones and corrupted hybrids, and just completely different species, yeah. That's a whole other thing. But if you clocked up to your eyeballs and you are too terrified to see, because let's just face it, I mean, if you're gonna start really really feeling again, yeah, and seeing what's going on around you, I mean, it's like you better gonna have a good support structure in place, because a breakdown is kind of programmed into that. A breakdown of the old structures, because somewhat you've given your power away, you've decoded life as to be this, but actually the light broke down. Actually it's so much more. I mean, if we only can see certain things within a very broad spectrum of things, then how can we say that we know anything about anything? I don't know where to actually go. I want to keep this, because I've reintroduced myself now after a long time. I didn't speak on here, made so many attempts to speak in so many different, but I never circulated it anyway. I mean, I've never circulated my material, which is what I'm going to be doing now, because I've been essentially been quiet about what's really happening in my life, because for some reason I didn't really want to go there myself. And even when I could accept it, let's just say there's a lot of stuff has been done to keep me quiet and self-silenced and self-censored. And because it's like I said the other day, like to someone that I actually would love to strike a collaboration with, yeah, with her, and with the kind of what she is linked into, which is actually called the Republic of England. I'm quite in favor of what they're doing around, because some quite bold moves made, like, you know, around setting up essentially a country, yeah, with its own rules, and I really love it. I'm gonna be doing this anyway, but for now I'm living in the UK. I live in you know, in London, so for now I'm associating myself with them, also getting very real around, let's say, starting to prepare for the basics, because once, I mean, what you gotta understand really is that you are dealing with a psychopathic mind that has ultimately like designed this matrix. So there's nothing to be there's nothing benevolent about this system. There's nothing sponsoring you in your creative searches and creative beingness, because this is who we are and they are after that. So a lot of stuff is designed to ultimately keep you in this loop where you actually quite willingly comply with the shit that's, I mean, I want to see that one inspirited being that is completely true to who they are, because they are essentially they would change the entire game. So this is 16 minutes now. I'm gonna, like, because if it's actually online in the body, it would change everything around you, around your environment, for the world, because this is how powerful we actually are. And we have completely, so we all have become people of the lie. And I'm just simply now recognizing that I'm actually like not nuts at all, you know, but this is like what the middle class, yeah, value system, that controlling value system, that is actually in some ways nothing else than mass mind control, but it's on a more vanilla, subtle level. And what I'm not talking about here, white, European or Western, you know, I'm talking about a mindset that needs to police others, because it's actually from within so split that it, and so much in denial about that it keeps projecting this, all this like unconscious stuff about it, you know, how also not just what's hidden but what's also perceived as actually quite through a quite distorted trauma lens. Yeah, it keeps projecting that outward. I mean, this whole iceberg scenario, there's only like so much above what we perceive with our conscious perception. Yeah, perceive with our conscious perception, exactly. Yeah, this is another thing. In the old days, I would have literally just maybe stopped this video. This is how perfectionist I actually was. People always like around me seem to assume I'm very free, and I am. But this is another really key vital ingredient of the matrix. What the matrix hides from you, essentially, that you are not one thing. There's nothing really. You have a front personality, and then you have a lot of stuff that's essentially you hiding it quite well from, you know, others. But there are aspects that you actually hide from yourself. And if you study your avoidance programs, yeah, you will understand where I'm coming from. The avoidance of like things that could essentially shell an entire life not lived, yeah, behind those walls of internal segregation. And this is the matrix is very real. It's like Bruce Lipton, I think, in a conversation with Tom Campbell, I think, yeah. talked about how the matrix, and this is like, yes, these are scientists. I mean, you know, I'm not a scientist in that sense at all, but I'm very keen on objectivity. I'm keen on things that work anywhere. And they even work within this matrix, but we don't actually have the guts to live our truth. So we becoming people of the lies, and because we're holding so many things down, yeah, to keep being accepted. Even if you are like the only punk, you know, and you have one punk friend, they still kind of like, they will cater essentially with the policing, yeah, of you not even owning your stuff. Like, you know, they might kind of like, you know, criticize you a lot over it, or, you know, keep you in check when you want to break the punk box or whatever it is. You know, you have stuff that is actually not compatible with punk culture, and then all of a sudden, you know, like you find yourself having to I mean, I'm saying specifically, I was using that terminology because, you know, apparently punks, or let's say very advanced new agers, or um, scientists, yeah, especially if they trained in certain institutions, you know, there's like a certain kind of a level of dogma, a dogma that's prevalent when you can't even, when you really think, you know, you just got it down to the T, now you found it, yeah. And in terms of like atheists, yeah, also called like old style scientists, because they're not ancient, yeah. I mean, they are old. They have an old mindset, like, you know, and they very much like clinging to their Newtonian, you know. I mean, whatever it even is, it's a very materialistic mindset, and it's literally designed to keep you in check, so you can keep living in a toilet bowl where a lot of things make a lot of sense within this toilet bowl, where you continuously being flushed with shit that you have to somewhat analyze and, you know, move swiftly to the side, so the shit just hits the same hole again and again, and you don't even know that you could use all of this shit, you know, to build manure. You like, yeah, manure. And in the same way, like how you dispensing of the shit, and you really understanding, you know, that shit ultimately is just, it looks like on the surface level like shit to deter you from investigating it. And that's how I love to apply, by the way, like, you know, just, anyway, this is another story now, but I've lost my track. I'm back, and I will keep talking. Or no, actually, like, not just keep talking. I will allow for the transmission of a lot of stuff that I'm coming up with and that I have come up with, because I wouldn't be sitting here if I wouldn't actually like know quite a good deal about how to really resolve trauma, how to really change things for good. And a lot, yeah, let me tell you a little secret, a lot has to do with your daily living environment, yeah, becoming present, but on a whole different level, because you have to literally like turn the mundane into the sacred again, yeah. And for those of you who know about astrology, I mean, the Virgo and the Cancer archetypes, yeah, they are very, very underrated and very much needed now, like, and I am, yes, considering astrology as a quite a profound tool of the matrix itself, yeah, allowing you to decode your way out, busting through, because you will see how you got trapped in the wheel. Doesn't matter the nature of the wheel ultimately, you know, the wheel. You got trapped, and you gotta figure out a way how. And if it's actually not reflective in your own life, it means the knowledge that you apparently hold is not applied. That is actually what it means. And you're still stuck in coping and avoidance and denial. And this is like what's been going on with me ultimately, like, you know, maybe on a different level, because I'm really, I mean, I've seen their machines, and I've been subjected to their lovely treatments, yeah, that they administer in the womb already to keep you completely disembodied, so you can never actually fully integrate and incarnate. Yeah, like with your emotional body will be so dissociated and so much disembodied that you don't make it into the body at all. And that's actually the first in that sense. It's not the first, but it's kind of as an actual programmable unit, yeah, within your developmental stages. It's something um, that is coming in as a total programmability, and the whole way how life here is organized and administered and managed, yeah, and farmed, is through trauma setups on all levels, all dimensions, because like they know, they just don't tell you. And I've been trying to think about how to bring this world into like the into this world without traumatizing people. I mean, ultimately, like now, the whole collective is asking. I'm being asked a lot to speak in many different places, and I'm I've never really done it until actually like this year, like talking in front of like people, an audience.